2,000 fighters have competed in the UFC since its first event in 1993. And much like any NFL or NBA draft, some years proved more successful than others in unearthing the sport's top talent. Today, we look at some of the most noteworthy years for UFC talent entering the promotion, based on their achievements in the cage or historic importance to the sport. Welcome to the INC, and these are the UFC's best rookie classes. Number 5, 1997. 1997 marked a turning point in the UFC's transition to a legitimate sports promotion, so it's appropriate that several of the company's cornerstones made their bow over these 12 months. The year was dominated by light heavyweights. The division was introduced as a means of appeasing state athletic commissions, with its inaugural cast boasting some of the most important and influential fighters of all time. Frank Shamrock, the division's first champion, is widely considered one of the sport's first true mixed martial artists, with an approach to training and conditioning well beyond his years, and later being the brains behind the all-conquering American Kickboxing Academy. His successors also made their debut in the calendar year, with Tito Ortiz, Vitor Belfort, and Randy Couture forming part of the 205 Golden Age, which carried the company in its mid-2000s expansion. 1997 wasn't exclusive to the 205ers. Maurice Smith and Mark Kerr made their octagon bows over the calendar year, while the company's first Japan card played host to an MMA icon. Former pro wrestler Kazushi Sakuraba claimed a first-round submission over Battlecade champion Conan Silveira, winning the company's heavyweight Grand Prix in only his third pro fight. Sakuraba went on to compete for the upstart Pride FC, becoming one of the sport's most beloved fighters and later being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. In all, 4 of the 97 class have donned the fabled green coat, with a 5th almost certain if not for Dana White's feud with Frank Shamrock. While other years have boasted more champions and notable fighters, the iconic stature of the 97 class earns it a spot on our list. Number 4, 2014. 2014 holds the record for the most UFC debutants in a calendar year, but the history books prove the class was one of quality as well as quantity. The influx of talent was helped by a new weight class, as the UFC introduced its strawweight division to capitalize on Ronda Rousey's success at 135. The new roster boasted 3 future champions, 3 title challengers, and a UFC Hall of Famer in Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who became the class's first inductee in 2024. 2014 was also defined by fighters taking the long road to the top. Jan Blachowicz struggled to find his feet after joining the promotion from KSW, but a late career turnaround saw him win the light heavyweight title in 2020. The wait was even longer for Leon Edwards and Sean Strickland, the 2 men claiming UFC gold with 2 of the most infamous title fights of recent years. Strickland with his upset win over Israel Adesanya, and Edwards' dramatic comeback against Kamaru Usman at UFC 278. The year was also a good one for entertaining action fighters. Eddie Alvarez, Dan Hooker, and Gilbert Burns became cult favorites with their reckless abandon in the cage. Derek Lewis became the UFC's all-time knockout artist, and let's not forget 2-division champion Henry Cejudo. Did you know he was an Olympic gold medalist? With 10 former champions and a challenger list ranging from Brian Ortega to Claudia Gadelha, the 2014 class proved an upside in one of the company's most difficult years. Number 3, 2007. When the UFC announced the purchase of Pride FC, it led to an influx of talent that furthered the company's expansion of the late 2000s. In terms of name value, 2007 might be the most star-studded class on our list. Several of the names signed had been established stars in Japan, and while some were certainly shop-worn by the time of their arrival, others leveraged their stature into further runs at the top. Quentin Rampage Jackson claimed the light heavyweight title after knocking out Chuck Liddell at UFC 71, and was quickly joined by fellow icons Shogun Rua and Minotauro Nogueira. Others, however, needed to wait longer for their moment. Fabricio Verdum initially floundered after arriving from Pride, but a career-defining run in Strikeforce saw him return to the UFC and claim heavyweight gold in 2015. 2007 was also a year defined by lightweights. The UFC had recently revived the class after an aborted run in 2002, with several of the year's alumni forming the basis for the division's rise in prominence. The all-lightweight season of The Ultimate Fighter is considered one of the greatest in the show's history, with Nate Diaz and Gray Maynard headlining a star-studded cast. Maynard would later be known for his wars with another of the year's rookies, former lightweight champion and fan favorite Frankie Edgar. Last year saw the 07 class finally get their flowers, with Edgar and Shogun joining Nogueira in the UFC Hall of Fame, and with the likes of Rampage, Lyoto Machida, and Mirko Cro Cop waiting in the wings, expect further legends to join them in the coming years. Not bad for a class of just 80 fighters. Number 2. 2011. If Pride's closure impacted the class of 2007, the same can be said for 2011 and the WEC. WEC was one of the sport's most unique promotions due to catering exclusively to lower weight classes. And with the UFC preparing for its TV deal with Fox, the decision was made to incorporate the Blue Cage roster into the fold. The result was one of the most exciting rookie classes of all time. 4 Hall of Famers, 51 title wins, and several names considered their division's all-time best. Demetrius Johnson's dominance of the flyweight division led many to consider him the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo flew the flag at bantamweight and featherweight, while Benson Henderson, Anthony Pettis, and Dustin Poirier headed a class of iconic lightweights. Greatness, however, wasn't exclusive to the lower weights. 2011 saw a young Stipe Miocic take his first steps in the octagon, going on to beat a who's who of MMA greats, including fellow 2011 alum Alistair Overeem. Chris Weidman dethroned the legendary Anderson Silva, while Tony Ferguson, John Dodson, and TJ Dillashaw proved the Ultimate Fighter's worthiness as a source of young talent. 2011 holds the record for the most champions and title fight wins in UFC history, with 18 of its fighters staking a claim as a future Hall of Famer. It's easy to see why the Year of the Forest bloomed so brightly in MMA. Number 1. 2013. While 2011 may have boasted more champions, few rookie classes were more important than 2013, with its roster pushing the UFC to unparalleled levels. 2 factors played a key role in the class's success. After 2 years operating as separate entities, the UFC's parent company Zuffa merged its roster with the remaining Strikeforce fighters, leading to an influx of established stars and future MMA legends. Daniel Cormier and Tyron Woodley realized their potential by claiming gold in the UFC, while Luke Rockhold headed a star-studded middleweight class including Jacare Souza, Yoel Romero, and Gegard Mousasi. While most Strikeforce alum hit the ground running, Jorge Masvidal spent most of his run mired in the mid-card, before changing his persona and acquiring a highlight reel knockout to make himself one of the biggest stars of the lockdown era. One Strikeforce alum in particular proved more important than most. 2013 saw Ronda Rousey become the first woman ever signed to the UFC, embarking on a run of dominance which saw her become one of the sport's biggest crossover stars. Rousey was the first of 7 female debutantes who went on to become UFC champion, with Miesha Tate, Amanda Nunes, and Jessica Andrade claiming company gold in the following years. The Ultimate Fighter continued proving its worth with champions like Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington, as well as future title challengers Thiago Santos and Kelvin Gastelum. The biggest name, however, came through old-fashioned methods. Conor McGregor entered the UFC with much fanfare, having been a 2-division champion in the British promotion Cage Warriors, but few could have foreseen the 3-year run that raised the promotion to new levels of popularity. The company's first 2-division champion and broke nearly all of their box office records. McGregor's stock has taken a hit since his 2016 heyday, but it's hard to ignore the role he played in attracting new fans to the sport. At the time of writing, 2013 boasts 11 champions, 17 title challengers, and countless legends joining Rousey and Cormier in the Hall of Fame. And if the Mayans had had their way the previous year, none of this would have ever happened. And now, time for a few honorable mentions. 1998 stakes a claim as one of the most important years of the SEG era, with Chuck Liddell, Dan Henderson, and Pat Miletich making their company bows over the course of the year. Kamaru Usman, Islam Makhachev, and Valentina Shevchenko made 2015 a strong one for dominant modern champions. 2008 gave the MMA world John Jones and Brock Lesnar. Actually, that one might not be such a good thing. This is the INC. Please like, share, and subscribe. Post your feedback in the comments, and donate to our Patreon page for hours of exclusive content.